There you go. Hello.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Hiya, you right? Hiya. Hiya. Is that right there?
Well, thank you for coming this evening. First person, which is for absence. Item 2 is any declarations of interest on anything on the agenda?
Yeah, just to be clear, when the planning application considered, I will not take part in case they come up before the committee of charge.
Thank you. Thank you. Nothing else? Thank you. Item 3 is to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which was on the 25th of March. If you all have a look at those. Anyone have any points to raise on that, please? And page 1, page 2, 3, 4, or 5. In that case, I propose that we accept those. If someone would like to second that. Yeah. All those in favour of accepting? Thank you.
I wasn't here, sir.
That's fine. Sign those later. Item 4, matters arising, or clerk's report, will you?
Got my clerk's report. Hopefully you've read it all. I'd just like to point out that I've been asked by Norfolk SLCC Executive Committee to join their committee and support clerks in Norfolk. When I went to a meeting, all the clerks in Norfolk know what I've been through recently, and they've asked me to join to support them and support other clerks that might be in similar situations to myself. So I was really chuffed about that. Yeah, so I'll be helping them. I will be going to executive committees, and yeah, I was really chuffed. The other things, Rock and Horse is in the paint shop, and will be installed shortly. We've just got to find out about getting the mechanisms for that. I might have to speak to a mechanic to find out how they're going to get that in. The D-Day bench has been fitted today. The VE VJ bench will be fitted when that turns up. I think that will come after VE Day, maybe after VJ Day. I can't put a bench in until we've had the event, so that's on order anyway. Yeah, so if anybody's got any questions at all. The first car bit we had was really good attendance, with 200 cars were there. We made the most in donations that we have done so far. It was a really good event. Never mind, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Wendy? That's right. And, congratulations on. Okay. How many clerks are there in Norfolk?
That all depends on the SLCC with their members. They can go on, but most of
I wasn't suggesting with anyone actually.
oh no. They all do a little job. I expect after I've been on there a while, I'll be asked to be treasurer.
Also, there's 120 odd parishes in North Norfolk alone.
Yes. Have an AGM, and I will represent Norfolk, maybe at the big SLC big conference that we have.
Thank you. Item 5, Mayor's announcements. Just a reminder that you can throw wet sponges at me on Monday at the children's day. Or water, obviously. Right, item 6 is to agree options. We've got Julia and Terry here who've had the interview with them, recommend that they're accepted. So I'd like to propose that they are both copied onto the council if someone would like to second that. Julia, all in favour? Yeah. Okay. Welcome aboard.
We need a declaration of acceptance form for you to sign at the end of the meeting. You're now welcome to join the group.
Come on over. I'm for the dark side. Eating on wrong there.
Yeah, well, I want to squeeze around the back.
Yeah, but when I say squeeze, I mean squeeze. Terry factors at least that meeting for the work.
You're all right, St. Paul. You're all right.
I do. Well, I did pick one up.
Thank you.
Right, so item 7 is reports from district and county council. Saul, I'm assuming you need to go first.
Thank you, Bob. We do have our visited annual parish meeting tonight and a parish council meeting, so all exciting. I'd say I knew Eric would know how many parishes were in North Norfolk. That's just knowledge. That's knowledge that only he would have. Very impressive, Eric. County relatively quiet at the moment. The devolution and local government reorganisation sort of trundles on. Expecting that we'll have an extraordinary meeting for that to discuss that as county councillors and to decide what our position is on the number of authorities that we feel should take the place of the existing structure. There might be some disagreements on that, but county might not agree with districts. I think we mentioned that last time, but we shall see. But other than that, I've just been attending sort of regular committees that I'm on at county, including last week the Joint Museums Committee, and at which they announced they hope that the castle in Norwich will be reopened fully in the summer, hopefully for the school holidays. But it's looking really, really impressive, the works that have been going on there. The medieval keep to be reopened as it was when I think Henry I visited in 11 something. I should know that. But yeah, they're recreating the whole medieval keep, so really impressive. And new shop, new restaurant, new entrance, accessibility, and all the rest of it looks really, really good. Locally, the highway scheme that we all know and love, I think is on track. I haven't heard otherwise, so that's good news. Wendy will know more because you speak to them all the time, Wendy.
It is on track.
Excellent. So we're looking sort of mid-June.
I spoke to Ben the other day, he said it was on track.
Super.
23rd of June.
23rd of June.
The week before they'll be doing the surface.
The resurfacing.
Resurfacing.
Yeah.
Grammar school road.
Yeah. I'm hoping as part of that, I must ask Ben, that they reinstate the little roundabout at the top of Grammar School Road because that disappeared.
Yeah, they will be.
And I forget what you call it, the little sort of triangular bit. There is a technical term for it, but
Splitter Island.
a splitter. That's the one, Bob. Thank you. Splitter Island. It's good when you know more about my stuff than I know about my stuff. The splitter island. So they've inspected that and we'll reinstate that as well. And Claire has asked me rightly about the Crowrow Road, the Millfield Road cones. I've asked again. I don't know whether they have been replaced, but hopefully they will very soon.
And cleaned.
Yeah, that whole stretch obviously looking pretty grim. So I think that's the third time I'm asking, but hopefully, we've still got another 6 weeks or more to go on the scheme. So they absolutely need to be. Thank you, Terry, for your kind words about the Cromer Road cones there. That seem to be doing a good job of keeping traffic, and parking there clear.
I think that's certainly improved that flow area there.
Definitely.
From that point of view. And obviously, if we could perhaps look at probably double yellows right up there once it's done. No, the public are
You're pushing it now. We can certainly have a conversation. But yeah. Well, by the way, congratulations on your accession to the dark side. So I've been contacted by residents on Skype and New Road. Obviously, they're having issues there as they are still on Aylsham Road. with the extra traffic they're seeing there. So I will meet our highways engineer and have a walk and a talk, but I'm not too sure what else we can do. There might be something in terms of mitigations along there, but it is difficult with the Ocean Road as well. You know, in terms of the 20 speed limit is there. You simply can't put any more signs. There are so many signs. The new ones we put up with the Think pedestrians in road, I think, were hit recently by a lorry, so they're facing the other way now. But you know, we'll try and think creatively about what we can do, and obviously talk to residents as part of that. And you would have seen, Bob and Wendy, that so hopefully we're getting some movement on the signage, additional signage as you approach the marketplace, to warn drivers that there is a restricted zone. So what we're looking at is having a sign potentially on the lamppost by the Hop Inn. So you drive up to that, it alerts you to the fact that there is a restricted zone that is coming in the marketplace and through the town centre. I think we also spoke to Justin about maybe lowering the signs on the entrance to the restricted zone as well, because they're quite high. So I must ask him about that, because it's quite easy to sort of miss them. But so I think what we're thinking there is that, you know, we don't want to give people excuses for not seeing it all. You know, we make it as obvious as possible. Whether that will stop, probably won't. It might stop some of that, but at least we'll be doing our best to try to sort that situation out. So I think that's it from me. It's always highways related, pretty much from my point of view, but that's the way it rolls. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Saul?
Going back to Grammar School Road, that islandy bit that you call it.
The splitter at the top.
Yeah, could you get that cleaned? Because a lot of that has gone onto the road. And the other day when I walked past, a lot of the cars are braking, and it's a case of, and somebody's mentioned to me about motorbikes as well, because there's a lot of grit.
That's come out of the...
And it's all on the bit as you approach. So that really could do with a good sweep.
I mean, obviously that's all going to be replaced, but I take your point, as it's breaking up. It's
it just needs sweeping.
Okay,
Do I have to wait until members of the public section, or can I ask Saul a question now?
Yeah, because I've got to whiz off in a
Okay.
bit, so...
First and 2nd of February, New Road was going to be closed due to cadent works, and that was cancelled due to the work at our junction. I've got here another traffic management order for the 17th of May for a one-day road closure on New Road. All right, I was going to say, how is that going to happen when the 1st and 2nd of February was cancelled due to our junctions work?
Yes.
Is that all right? I'll pick that up.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Because I did ring them and speak to them, and they says if you've got any inquiries,
Might just have a look at your letter.
Nobody would
I haven't
actually-
received it.
first time I had a great conversation with a young person, but
Because I thought all of those were being delayed
yeah,
because
I
of the
thought
works.
so.
That's what I heard from the highways engineer, and that he had asked for that to happen, because otherwise it would be...
Because although there's a road
Chaotic.
sign up there saying, advising of the closure, I haven't put anything on social media until at least after this
Yeah,
meeting,
okay. Well,
to
check
see what reaction there'd be.
I'm just make some notes of that.
Yeah, well, I should be quite used to that. Thank you.
Just take a photo of it. So I will update on North Horsham issues.
Thanks.
So we've got the ongoing issue with Linfield and Haverfield down there with the flooding, and we've waited for many, many years, Eric, to get that resolved. We've gone through a series of consultations. The final consultation ended just last week, if I remember rightly. So we can now proceed with the legal work that we need to do to take that back from the Crown. So that's taken a long time, because for those of you who weren't aware of what happened, Anglian Water, when they've installed the drainage system there, it's slightly uphill. So when the surface water runoff comes, it pools and goes into people's homes. Highways wanted to sink a tank on the green next to the area. And when they decided they wanted to do it, Anglian Water said, well, actually, you don't own the land, so we wouldn't accept the asset. And the water table was too high at the time. Then, when the county council tried to get the land, because the developer had folded, it then sat with the Crown. In order to take the land back from the Crown, they had to do a series of consultations with everybody who they could possibly consult with to make sure nobody owns the land or nobody thinks they own the land before they can proceed. So instruction was given for the legal team to proceed a few days ago, which is beneficial. What we thought was going to be a relatively quick resolve has taken far longer than either myself or Eric, who was my predecessor, would be happy with. But this is progress, whilst it's slow nonetheless. The other item that I wanted to just update on was we had 3 areas where we had collapses in infrastructure. One of them was Bradfield Road, which the update that I was given was it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be, and that was resolved on the 13th of March. The issue on Mayfield Way, which was a collapse in the pavement again, was resolved on the 24th of April. The long-standing issue on Spence Avenue and Leicester Close, which has been going on since I think August last year, because that was collapsed infrastructure, which was then causing the road to flood. Because the ground is still so wet, it doesn't feel like it's rained a lot, but there's a lot of water there. They're proposing that they will do that in June because it's so wet. Fingers crossed it happens in June because residents there have waited for long enough. We have had a flood report back from 2023. It might be a little bit earlier than that, where a property was flooded in that area. I have asked whether or not the flood happened because the infrastructure was collapsing or the infrastructure collapsed because of the amount of water and the floods that happened, the rainfall that we had. Surprisingly, both highways and the flood team don't speak to each other. So neither of them was aware of the other thing that was happening. And so I've said a very, very blanket response of, oh, I don't know. So I will push back on that because if what's happened has impacted residents or if what's happened has impacted the infrastructure, we need to really fully understand what came first with that. So that's where we are with highways. The point about the road closure, between myself, Saul and Wendy, we've been trying to prevent roads being closed across the town where they didn't need to be closed. The town council put out a statement that they received from highways about Cromer Road, which I'm really grateful of because we do get a lot of complaints about that from residents coming in. My biggest worry is that when the roadworks finish, that everything else that needs to happen across the town will start. And I profusely apologise to anybody that's inconvenienced by it, but we've tried to keep the road system open as much as possible. The majority of my generalised casework, when it's not potholes and roads, is about people trying to access social care and the delays that people are going through there, and that is quite distressing for a lot of people. The police have been working really closely with councillors in the area doing welfare checks. In the meantime, we've got quite a number of residents that we have concerns over, not just people who live in North Walsham, but people who use the town that we've seen a decline in. So I just want to thank our beat manager specifically and sergeant who has been supporting our work by undertaking welfare checks on residents that she knows waiting for social services to go in and support them. So that's everything from my county perspective. District, it's much more the same because my role blurs into both with everybody generally, but the main focus of my work at the moment is supporting people who are actually struggling financially. And the biggest issue is when people stop paying their rent or their council tax. So if anybody talks to any of you and says they're struggling a little bit, there's a great team at District Council who deal with financial inclusion, which are trying to support. I've had a number of residents and town users, a couple of you have bumped into the District Council office who have had that early conversation. I'm struggling, let's talk. And as soon as we get people through the door, then we can start to support them. The worst thing is when people put their head in the sand because then it becomes too late. So if you know of anybody who talks about struggling whether or not they've lost a job or bills have gone up, can all just check, you know, are you managing okay? Then we can try and get some support in early doors. Aside from that, it's planning stuff. Poor Paul. But the Yarmouth Road development, myself and the district councillors met with the developers to ask them some quite serious questions about the supported living development that's coming on Yarmouth Road. They were very open, they answered all the questions, and my main challenge back was, you know, why aren't you building more? And they've gone for quality over quantity to make sure that the people who are going to move into those properties potentially have got enough space for their needs rather than cramming everybody in on top of each other, which is very refreshing to hear from a developer. They're very open.
Yeah, I do have 2 people from the development on my phone on Teams because my laptop is not here on my work side, so they're on my phone, so they want to have a bit of a speak.
Yeah, but I can't fault them for the engagement and openness and transparency with what they're doing, and really out of all the developments we've got coming to the town, this is probably one that I'm most excited of for our young people and our residents who will really thrive being part of our community. But that's my whole update. I'm sorry, Wendy, that's a lot of notes.
Watch it back.
Yeah, just a couple of things for me. I attended the first day of the local plan hearing on the 8th of April to talk about the detrimental impacts on the environment, diversity and ecology that the inclusion of the Munsley Road site would have, and how these impacts have not been properly taken into account, being contrary to various policies. It was a very long session. The inspector said it was the longest one he'd ever had, being 4 hours, 10 till 2, and it was the first section of the 3 or 4 days of the hearing, because it was really, I think, the only contentious proposal for inclusion. And then we haven't yet heard the outcome of the report, I don't think.
No, it was a very interesting session. I think we got all the relevant objections to the site over to the inspector. There was a stop I had to suggest that, well, an alternative site or two hadn't been looked at. That site being between the mushroom farm, you know, around the Yarmouth Road and the bypass. We've got to find the space for all these extra houses that the covenant has dictated. So you can't dismiss one site and not provide an alternative. So we left him with enough ideas for that and further village expansion. He is concerned enough about traffic to actually have come at some point, I'm not sure when he did, he was going to come and visit, particularly Linfield Road and Munsley Road, and look at the site itself. Because the specific concerns are really around traffic flows, which we already know bad in that area. The next stage is he will send a letter into the district stating what he accepts, what he wants looked at further, so there may be further consultation. I need to try and get the policy statement on NW16 changed anyway. It's going to go ahead, so it forces the developer to put the link onto the 148. Sorry, not 1145, that one. Too many road numbers. Put that in first. So, as we had to point out, to put a bridge across a railway crossing, which also contains a high pressure gas condensate pipeline. That's quite a lot of things to say about that. There's a potential wildlife site, there's also a high electricity cable in there. You know, it won't be a cheap and simple option. Concern is they will try and wriggle out of doing that. If they get the chance to come in up off Munsley Road initially, they will suddenly find the site's not viable later if they have to put a bridge in. Standing developed track. We see it far too often. Although say they can't put the affordable, they're not probably both. Because all they're interested in profit, they're not interested in actually meeting any local need. So we wait and see what the inspector says, but at least we got him to come and visit the site and look at the problem himself. And he's also got concerns about the further impact of development of Walsham on culture. On Saturday, John Mayhew MP was speaking on behalf of culture, which is unusual for them to do. Planning meeting like that. So we just wait and see. Apart from that, district terms, there's not a lot been happening, partly because of which should have been an election, so it's technically election further.
Okay, thank you.
I've got one other thing. Civil and Trust are supporting us to roll out the Green Streets initiative across other towns in North Norfolk, if councillors want to help promote it. So we'll certainly hope to run it again in North Walsham. So looking for volunteers over the summer for planting in autumn and winter again. Similar trees, crab apples, cherries, birch, that sort of thing. So we'll have more publicity as well now that we've got the basics in place.
Was it 400 or so trees?
Yes, we've got 420 altogether, but lots gone into hedging because of the way we had to use the prescribed tree packs.
Yes.
But we can be a bit more creative next time, I think.
That's good. Thank you.
Now we've mentioned this planning application to the end of Rosery Road, that went about 4 hours there as well. Look, we did, from the town council's point of view, as well as we could, because we got the inspector to recognise a concern and come to the site. A lot of the 4 hours, a good hour of it, was taken up by Colchester. Quite how it's happened, I don't know, but in all the consultations and decisions to make North Walsham a growth town, the implications of the B115 were going through Colchester just seems to have slipped through the net until very late in the day. The answer to it is a relief road. I don't know where the money's going to come from. There is something like £500,000 that's been agreed for some minor road improvements through Colchester. And a lot of the argument was taken up by the fact that the developers on the western side of town had agreed to make a contribution. But of course, the developers buy the properties at the end of Bunsley Road have not agreed to make contributions. And the inspector didn't like that. He said if you're going to make improvements, that everyone's got to do it. And I don't know if you would got this view, Paul, but the longer it went on, I began to take the view that the properties involved at the end of Bunsley Road were getting very concerned about the viability of the project. And that might also be something which will rest on the inspector's mind, because the project has to be viable. So we'll see how we go, but it was a long morning.
Thank you for enduring it. Thank you. Do you have anything to add today?
No, sorry.
Okay. Nothing else from anybody else? No? All right, yeah. Okay, we'll just bring the discussion on the cover the Yarmouth Road project.
Hello. Do you want to unmute yourselves? I think so. There you go. I'm going to just put you here. You're not going to see anyone. It's the best you can do.
That's not a problem. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Firstly, good evening, councillors, and thank you very much for affording myself and Molly the time to have a chat with you and just shed some more light over our application. It's greatly appreciated that we can do this via Teams, because we're a company that's based up in Cheshire, so it's a little bit of a long way for us to travel down to, and That's very kind of you to allow us to do it via Teams. Firstly, I just want to say that the application that's in front of you hopefully is on the planning portal and you've had a look at it, and that it's an application that HB Villages has presented forward with the support of Norfolk County Council. HB Villages, we are a developer of specialised supported housing across the country, and have developed from Scotland right the way down to Kent and into Cornwall. And we've been on the framework with Norfolk County Council for the last 2 or 3 years, delivering much needed specialised supported housing, independent living for vulnerable adults with learning and physical difficulties. This site is our 4th site that we're bringing forward with Norfolk County Council in partnership with Golden Lane, who are partners as the registered provider. It's much needed accommodations. I can sure you can appreciate the demand is huge across not only Norfolk but the whole of the country for better accommodation. And as such, this site was identified and brought forward with the support of the Norfolk County Council Adult Social Care Commissioners. Every application we bring forward, we want to obviously engage with the ward councillors and town council just to make sure that people are aware of what is being developed within their community. Unfortunately, sometimes when you talk about vulnerable adults, people get the wrong perception. We are talking about vulnerable adults with care packages, learning and physical difficulties, autism, mental health, etc. So it's better that people are informed, such as yourselves, so that any questions from the public can be answered very quickly and in an informed manner. So it's an application site that I'm sure you're aware of that has previously, well, it's got an expanded permission for open market residential housing, and it was identified by HB Villages as a potential site for specialised supported living, and as such, we have brought an application which is less dense in massing, but we've got a proposal of 9 units, 6 apartments and 3 bungalows on the site. And as I say, it is very much a welcomed application. We've had a positive pre-application, and it was suggested that obviously we have the meeting with yourselves to discuss it further. And really, it's a case of introducing ourselves and any questions that you may well have about the application and the plans that are in front of you as it stands at the present moment.
Thank you. For the benefit of councillors who might not be familiar, it's across the West End side from one time next to the police station. I don't know if you heard the district council comments earlier, but I think I'd support those, that it's a pleasantly designed environment down there which will provide some very nice accommodation. So I've no objections on the positives to support what you're doing there. But other councillors have any comments?
Am I right in thinking this would be the second one that you had in your portion?
Yes, well, a few moons ago we developed one on Queensway.
Yes.
That was prior to us actually being part of the Norfolk framework as a chosen developer. It just so happened that we were aware at the time of the need, and yes, you're right. There is a development there already, but as you can appreciate, the county, every town is requiring this sort of accommodation, and it's much needed.
Sorry, that was meant as a positive comment, not a criticism.
Given that building is on the route of my daily run in the morning, so I see lots of people going to and coming from, and
Right.
a lovely set of people they are.
I didn't quite hear it. Apologies.
No, that's right. No. So then, yeah. So I meant it as a positive comment because the current one, you know, does exactly what it's supposed to do, and you know, interactions with people in the morning. You know, lovely set of individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And this site that, apologies, Molly, Molly is HPB's development manager, and this is her site. I've somewhat jumped in here, but it's a superb location, isn't it, Molly? And you know, right the way through with the engagement with our social care at Norfolk County Council, it has been received. They want us to do this scheme. As I say, that the existing planning permission is for 6 townhouses. Our development is, they're 3-storey. Our development is for a 2-storey section of apartments together with the 3 bungalows. So the actual massing of the site is far less. So we're fingers crossed we're not envisaging any issues there. And hopefully it can be determined in a timely manner.
Thank you. Any questions, Eric?
Yeah, what's the arrangement for people to live there? Do they lease, rent, purchase,
Yes,
purchase?
yes, indeed. As I said, we're in partnership with a registered provider, Golden Lane Housing.
Right.
They will be managing the building alongside a care provider. That care provider will be chosen from the framework of Norfolk County Council's care providers. That process is ongoing at the moment. And yes, the tenants will have, individual tenancies, homes for life. So yes, they will be renting the property directly, yes.
And in terms of assessing who these people are going to be, where does housing need come into it?
Housing need, well, they are referred into via the local authority, and that will, yes, so there's a nominations process.
Yes, yeah, I'm
and
familiar with
referral
that.
process.
Right, I understand now.
Anything else? I guess I propose that we vote to support the application. If someone would like to introduce a second, all in favour?
Yep, absolutely.
Go ahead as far as we're concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you for joining us.
Proposed, well, 20 seconds.
Okay. We'll turn to the agenda then, and item 8 is finance. First item is to approve the expenditure since the last meeting. Any queries for Wendy or anything on the list?
I'd just like to say I've got our St John's ambulance there. That is on the 19th of May, and if any councillors want to join us, I think you wanted to, Helen, and anybody else who'd like to join us, it will either be in this room. Is 19th of May Monday? It is. Oh, you might be able to have it in there then. Should be able to. I'll just check to make sure. So if any of the other councillors want, not be a group session. So. I can go to. Yeah, just let me know. Just let me know. That's fine.
What time is that?
It's all day.
All day, 9
till
4.
I might have break for lunch.
Half an hour at most, yeah, little break.
We'll provide the coffee and tea. Our insurance is renewal. I have just had, because we had to have indemnity insurance, which we didn't have, there's another cost of £338 for that, and I covered our insurance indemnity because it was 500 or 750, so I've done 750, and it was something that was recommended, needed to be done by the independent internal auditor. That's just come through, and then all our rates bills are all in, so we've just paid all our rates for the year.
So,
Okay, if there's no comments, I'll propose we accept those. Someone second, Julie a second. All in favour? Thank you. We've got the bank reconciliation document in the pack. Hopefully that's self-explanatory. And item 8.3, summary of receipts and payments.
They were, I found another programme that I could find for you, which used to get bigger things, but this is just summaries of the cost centres, so you can see where.
It's easier to get my head around, isn't it?
But I will provide that every month for you. So.
Thank you.
And then part of the recommendation from the auditors was that we tried to make this look more understandable and simple.
Yes.
I hope this achieves it. It's the bottom line that actually matters. The net position is that if you look at the bottom line, we actually ended up, compared to the budget, with a small surplus of just over £4,000. Our receipts were greater than we budgeted for, but the expenditure was more than the budget, but we still ended up with a small surplus. And that did include a range of items which, like the gator, the marketplace lights, a lot of vehicle maintenance, which weren't actually in the budget, but which we were able to accommodate. So, given the year that we've actually had, I think we've done pretty well to generate a small surplus.
That may also be because 60,000 on the 50,000 was found. Yeah. We just had, sorry, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing in terms of the receipts was that we got over 30,000 that came in because we hadn't been invoicing for the birch cutting that we do for the county council. We also had an electricity fund refund of Memorial Park of nearly 16,000. And also for the first time we are beginning to see higher interest than we're budgeting for because more of it is now being put into planning accounts. All of this was improvements that were required and it's beginning to bear fruit.
Yeah, can I just say, we've just had our first half of our precept in. Well, it will come in the next 2 days. I will probably move it into the CCLA savings account because we get nearly £1,000 a month in for that one. So, but I will probably move it, I'll speak to Eric, but I'll move it and then self-finance what we've done.
What we want to do is to get ourselves in a position where we just move money into higher rate accounts without holding too much cash, other than for probably a month or two in advance. We're getting interest on it.
You'll see we've still got 187,000 in our instant access account. We don't need that.
We don't need that.
And we can move money around from the CCLA.
I mean, it's what authorities do all the time. And the reason why we're having to pay more indemnity insurance is because of the sheer amount we're actually holding at the moment.
Thank you. Item 9, we've had a letter from a member of the public proposing that postal token hours are changed. I'm not sure we have any powers in that direction, but we could support our request.
I say support it, but we have no jurisdiction over that.
we don't, what he says completely makes sense.
It does.
Especially the closure of all the banks. It's the only place really people can come, so it might be worth just a nice letter to say, could this be reviewed? Because of the problems it's causing.
Yeah.
1.2 right decisions for some additional tree cutting in the park. Is the cotton beach, is it?
No, it was just reducing the trees by the lady who's always complained because the trees are very confusing, but they done those ones going that way and not going that way, so it's a health and safety issue for the lady who moved there. So. While they're there, they've reduced the copper beach, and we didn't get anybody to mention it, so
and they've done all that other work. Next week, finishing this week.
Good, we'll do all our trees in the way around, which is good. Item 10 is essentially to agree if we do to take over running the yard sale this year onwards and the Easter egg hunt next year onwards. Thinking Jasmine's report with some costs associated there. Did you want to remind us of those?
Yeah, I can. So the yard sale is coming up imminently. Pretty much, there's not really any expenditure for this. I mean, there'd be an initial cost for us to rebrand it. But other than that, it's sponsored by Acorn Properties, they buy the boards. All we would need to do is provide some more slips to go in them. Basically, people pay £1 to buy a map and buy into it. It would take a little bit of staff office time to build the map that we would sell. Other than that, the money we would then get back. I mean, I've put it here, I think we should put it into an earmarked fund for play equipment.
Can I just ask one question? Matt Smith and his dad always delivered the actual boards.
Yes,
Is that going to continue?
they
Because that was
are.
a great help.
They are happy to help, however, I would be swaying towards a wonderful grounds team to with that.
Where is it going within our team? And is that costed through with it as well?
Yeah, I was,
You know,
absolutely,
we need to do it. So.
absolutely, yeah. So, from what I understand, I've spoken to Matt a bit about it. They have the boards and everything and Acorn, so it would just be a case of when we've got the map, getting the map to the team to then take them out. So whether that's a couple of hours, don't know. Obviously, we'd have to trial it first.
It tended to be as they came in.
Yes.
When
Well,
they were delivered, so it's a bit of a hit and miss.
yeah,
one.
we've
You might only go once a week.
spoken to Matt, and basically he said probably once a week update the map, update grounds teams so they can go out and but obviously it's a work in progress.
Fine.
So but yeah, that's what I've got for the yard sale. So initial outlays to rebrand it. It took a couple of hours for the office staff to make the map to sell, a couple of hours for the grounds team to get the boards back in, but other than that, it kind of runs itself, really.
Just for a process point.
Yes.
You advertise the opportunity. People that want to put their pace tables in their front garden, for want of a better expression,
Yeah,
register an interest.
yeah.
At some point, there's a cut-off, and then you do a map of all of the people that are going to be involved, and then you sell it out to the public.
Yes.
Acorn sell it for us.
Yeah, there's several companies in town which would sell it for us. Yeah, but yeah, basically that's what it is. So we would update the map, and then at a certain date, like that's the cut-off. And if you pay past that date, you're not going to be on the printed map. We could probably have some kind of digital map.
We have an eye online, so we'll be able to get the details of the
So again, I just echo the query, we just need to look at it, the whole
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
And obviously the collection of the boards going back the other way.
Yes, yes, that's on the list too.
I would just like to say that, you know, from Lib Dem campaigning and putting up boards, it is quite a time-consuming process. Would it be possible to have a central place where the board is kept and get your residents or whoever's having a table to come and collect the board? And put it up on their own houses,
Yes,
and bring it back at the end maybe? Because I
yeah.
think it is a lot more time-consuming than I think you're...
Wow. It's the first time we do it. Yeah.
They could go and collect their boards from Acorns.
Absolutely, or perhaps we could add an extra fee on to have the board delivered. Convenience fee.
There's a difference between delivering and putting up, isn't it? If you're just delivering it to the
Well,
door,
yes,
it's quite
that's
quick.
true.
Just hanging a post.
Oh, we will be trying them up. They have to put them up themselves, don't they?
Well, these are all the details we need to work
That's
out.
what Murphy. First he put their boards up there.
That does play into things like public liability, doesn't it? We're going around nailing boards to people Students.
No, we're not doing that.
From what I was gathered, they just deliver them and
Yeah,
it's to the
yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
they
put
wherever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're tiny fences and tiny posts and stuff, yeah. Okay. Did anyone else have any other questions for that one? Obviously, this is a brief overview. I feel like this is one we're going to have to experience to learn for the next one.
Thrown in the deep end.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I think it's a popular event. People like it. It's an opportunity for us to raise some more money towards playing equipment, which is what Unfortunate Play obviously did. So it's continuing that legacy, which I think is good.
We pay for that.
Yeah.
I've put it down for that. I feel like
It's just staying in there.
Yes.
Unfortunately, as they wind up, will give us the residue of funds to go in earmark pots, so that's.
yeah.
one.
So
Do you want to cover the more complicated?
do you want
Okay.
to fix it? Yeah.
Okay.
Close this one. Yeah.
Julie and Tracy, all in favour of that? Thank you. Okay, and 10.2 Easter egg hunt.
So Easter egg hunt, which is we've just done, and it was a lovely day. Everybody had lots of fun. Yeah, my daughter went. She had a fun this time. So I think this one, the kids love it. It's a family thing. It's something that North Horsham should be known. It's a nice event.
Brings everybody together.
Exactly. As a town council, we don't have an Easter offering, so it's already set up. People already know about it. They expect it every year. It makes sense to take something that is already successful and just carry on. So, in the same vein as with the yarn sale, I've kind of taken what Matt and his team have done and kind of boiled it down to the kind of framework. There are some costs involved with this one, so potentially if we were going to fund it, we would probably need about £2,000 to fund the whole thing. That includes the eggs for the children, selling the tickets, the goodie bags, the entertainment and like the whole shebang basically. However, they obviously relied heavily on funding, so like from the community shop, obviously they have a grant from us and things. So although we can't have that kind of grant, we can go for sponsorships. So we can perhaps get some sponsorships from local businesses.
We have sponsorships rather than donations. If we have donations, we have to pay VAT on them. If we have sponsorships, we don't have to pay VAT.
Could we still go to, say, the supermarkets for eggs and things like
Yes,
that?
we could do. We could go to
So
community
just
shops
so long as it's
for
within our
sponsorship. So they give us money to sponsor. So they would sponsor like the donkeys or something, and we go to all the businesses. Say, can you sponsor this? Can you sponsor that? And that would pay for them. For their name plate.
Yeah.
So that £2,000, is that after people have paid for their tickets, that's the net cost?
So yeah, that is the cost. It's £1,800 from ticket sales, and then they raised about £700 from the raffle tickets and the tombola and the kind of extra stuff. So yeah, I mean, if we paid for it, we wouldn't be making much money. We'd be making £600-700. But if we got the sponsorships, which is what we were aiming for, then we could make the 2,500. So it's a small event in terms of revenue, but everybody loves it. It's filling a gap that we have in our events calendar, and
It's carrying on the legacy.
and it's carrying on the legacy. So even if it's just a couple of thousand, that's a couple of thousand that can replace something.
And after the first year, anything you make out the first year, obviously,
Exactly.
goes into the next year, so it will cost less.
Exactly.
The only thing we would need volunteers, because like Alex
Yes.
does tombola,
Yeah.
there's only 8 members of staff or 7 members of staff, we would need people to help us do it.
So just to be clear, the cost and the income sort of match out, so when we
Yeah.
say it costs 2,000, it's not necessarily because we get that money back.
No, at maximum it would cost that, but realistically I would look for most of that to be sponsored.
Yeah, but happen if we weren't sponsors? Is that, because you were saying if it's going to cost 2,000 per lot, we get 1,800 from ticket sales, that's more or less big for sale.
Yeah, so then you'd only really make money from the raffle and the tombola and that kind of thing, which, you know, from my example figures is like £700. So it's minimal revenue if we don't get the
Compared
sponsorships.
to other events we do, it's quite good value, isn't it?
Because it's not costing us,
Well, it's not free.
it's not free. If we get in early enough.
Yeah. Anybody else got any questions on that? Obviously, it's just a very basic, because it's just happened, we've got the full year to plan and prep for next Easter.
Do they always do? Is it always on Easter weekend?
I think traditionally it's been Easter Saturday, and I feel like people know that that's when it's going to be, so I would suggest we carry on with that. Tradition, yeah.
You enjoyed doing that, didn't you? You had quite a smile on your face.
Well, I propose that we take on.
Just
All in favour of carrying on with that? Thank you. Right, so we're going to move on to the planning applications. We'll start with the Yarmouth Road one. So we've got the first one is the development in Cherry Tree Lane, which is adjacent to the building you were talking about earlier, Paul. Two of the residents have asked that there's a 2-metre fence put up along the northern boundary. I'm not sure that's strictly a planning matter, but I think we could support that. It would help to reduce the sound as they're concerned. We can,
What was it historically? Was that the undertakers or the, some of that sort of, was that where the greystones were?
A bit of history. The front section was farms, thatchers at one point. It was then used as a workshop by a carpenter relative, and since then it's largely been derelict for the last 20 years. The land behind is garden, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I mean, I'd suggest we deferred this until there was further information, which some is now become apparent. There are 4 objections from residents, which 2 refer to proximity to their properties and noise. This part of the Cherry Tree Lane is a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's a narrow road. And Highways in their comments clearly want more clarification in terms of visuality of access to and from this site onto Cherry Tree Lane. Before they finalise whether they support or condition or object to this application. There will also be some loss of wildlife. The studies, the assessments, as I see it, that the developers have done have been mainly around plants, vegetation and shrubs. My view is that at this stage, the town council, apart from making the comment that concerns about noise and proximity to adjoining property needs to be addressed, is that we raise an objection until such time as the outstanding issues on highways have been properly clarified. The benefit of doing that is that that means that whilst that objection is there, they will go back, officers, whatever the final outcome is, have to go back to ward councillors to ask them for their view and whether or not it should go to a redevelopment committee. So what I would like to move is that we raise an objection on the grounds that there is a lack of clarification about visuality for access to and from the site to Cherry Tree Lane, and that needs to be clarified.
okay, that sounds a sensible comment. I noticed, I think probably today, that we require an archaeological dig before the development takes place as well.
That's another one that could be conditioned, but it's the highways issue which has got to be effectively addressed there.
Please may I ask as a local member that if you are firm in your objection, that you email me requesting that I call it to committee. Just to make sure we've got all the paperwork in line and I can call it in before rather than what you're looking at.
Okay.
I think that would I think that's a very helpful route to incorporate it. At the end of the day, if all these issues can be resolved, it doesn't have to go to the development committee, but the point is, if they're not resolved, we need to be ready to object.
If you're proposing that, I'm happy to second that. If everyone's in favour of that approach. Thank you. The King's Arm Street development.
That's all I'm
Barrel
doing.
Home, yes. Their old council office on King's Arm Street. I don't see any issue with that myself. Does anyone else?
I just think it's remarkable that the building works still stand.
It's not a very structurally sound building, is it?
I went into it the other day and it's still sort of, it was funny to do that.
So I propose that we raise no objection with that. Tracy, all in favour? Thank you. And finally, the Monthly Road is a fairly minor extension, so again, I didn't see any issues with that. Anybody? No? I propose we accept that one, or support that one. Julia for that one. Julia on the list.
Yeah,
Okay.
Julia R.
Julia, all in favour?
You said when you proposed it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just voting.
Item 12 is another planning related thing, the street lighting on the Nursery Drive development.
Can I just say something? There was a lot of discussion done by email. That shouldn't happen. The discussion should take place in the committee in council meeting, because if discussion is done by email, then you all become predetermined. And I was really upset to see all that happening.
It's my fault because I've got people in when I asked you to do some more research.
But decisions should not be discussed by email, they should be discussed at council meetings.
Can you clarify exactly what we're being asked?
You're being asked to whether North Washington Town Council would like to adopt, or put in and adopt the street lighting on the side roads.
So is it installed and not?
Install and adopt and take charge. There is no need for us to do that. It may be nice, but we do not have to do it. It's safety. It is safety. It's safety for when it's dark, people walking about. So that is a concern you might not like to think about.
No, I think roads should all be lit, but I don't think it's our responsibility to do it. These roads presumably are going to be adopted by counties, so they should be lit by counties.
We can do, yeah.
I assume the roads are going to be adopted.
Well, they go to management. If there's a management committee that looks after the site, then highways take ages to adopt them, don't they? Because the management company look after those, and then that's right, isn't it, Lucy? Yeah. And then when the management company folds, which they usually do, either the town council takes over the vergers and things, or highways takes over them.
I think I agree with the committee said, you know what, that are not our responsibility to provide streetlights in a new development. Promises developers make. It's worth, I think, just going back and looking at the conditions imposed as part of that.
Yeah,
just to see whether street lighting is in there.
Yeah.
Too long ago since we looked at it. But it's worth looking at that and to the S1 and 6 agreement.
Yeah, I've got a telephone call with the lady, the levy officer from section 106, to speak about section 106.
It's Fiona, she's on top of everything.
Oh, sorry. You sit next to me.
Julia Square. I know I'm very new, but I do feel that a new development, from a safety point of view,
especially for women's safety, we need street lighting. We do need street lighting. It's not something that should be ignored, because it doesn't take a genius to know what's going on with attacks. And you want to be safe, you want to be able to walk your dogs in the winter, you want to be able to walk your children back from school. It's safety, we need it.
Yeah, but I think our response should be that we definitely wish them to be lit, but it's not our responsibility
Yes.
to fund that.
The other difficulty we've got, well, I mean, there's been this has gone on for over a decade, about the county council reducing street lighting in Northampton and other towns. Even in spite of representations being made by us, the police and others, it's not been able to be arrested very often. The other problem is that if we ever did decide to install and take over a new set of street lights, then other new estates where it's not happening automatically turn around. Just out of interest, I don't know if Quentin's dug into it, we do own some street lights in the older part of the town. And is that purely historical? Is it?
Yeah, I don't know what the origin is, but I think the Spencer Road and Philby Road are ours, I think, aren't they? And some the other end of town. I think we own 140. Lucy, you know.
I might do. The streetlights across the town, some are owned by the district, some are owned by the county, some are owned by the town, and some are owned by housing associations. But I would anticipate the ones that are owned by the town were perhaps legacy from the urban district council. So I'm just nodding at, because if we've got local government reorganisation coming,
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
then maybe more.
If we've got local government or reorganisation, everything's going to change anyhow.
Yes.
And there are economical ways of the county council taking this on board and making it much more economical with different types of lighting now. I'll get back in the box now.
We can't actually answer this. We can't answer this letter, we only give two choices. We give the choice of we don't want it, or we're prepared to pay for it. The answer is we do want it, we want you to pay for it.
Yes.
So we can't do a letter, we haven't got.
I'll just go back.
We just have to none of the above.
I'm just being back to say, not prepared to pay for it.
Option C.
Yeah.
Normally the police, a planning comment is that it must be lit, so I don't know.
I'll go back and check.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm aware of any housing development anywhere that is not lit.
I'm aware of some in other parts of the country where it's no longer a requirement because of light pollution.
If gradually is let out.
Right, so that's good. Item 13, to agree the quote for folding doors upstairs. For those who are not familiar with our office, our office is the room above this, the same size, which is one big room. The proposal is some folding doors to be able to divide it into two for when there's a confidential meeting. It's not, obviously not going to be a soundproof box, but to make it a separate space for conversation. So there is two stub walls coming out, so I suspect it was two rooms once upon a time, so it's about 2.5 metres wide, 3 metres wide, got two folding doors on, for which the quote is £1,100.
Sorry, Chair.
1,270.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Quote in the packs 1270, we've got 1,100 on the agenda.
Yes.
Maybe that was, they thought that was VAT. I can do it.
Any questions or queries on that?
Just asking, obviously, it's a rented space, have we got permission from?
Well, when they came back and said we could do anything in our room that we want, but we just have to put it back, so it'll just be a map. But they are coming to do inspection tomorrow, so I will ask them before I definitely go ahead with this.
Okay.
But I've spoken to one person who said, and I spoke to somebody, but as long as we put it back, because they said we could put anything up on the walls, and it will only be attached, maybe floor runners and top runners.
Yeah, there's already a wooden frame in that opening, so it's a screen.
So it's going to be for confidential, but even with one, so it's not soundproof.
We'll see if we can get it soundproofed in between, while we protect that.
It's like, I'm just saying, it's obviously it's a bit pointless if not.
No.
When they said that to you, is that something they had in writing or just something they said to you?
It was just something they said he's not there anymore, so he said no, and then another guy will get in.
I was going to say, you know what these things are like. You'll turn around and bite us on behind if you don't put eyes on
Please get it.
Well, I haven't, we're waiting for quotes to come for that, haven't we? But it needs a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, given the last time we came in, the youth of the town.
Yes, and there's loads of damp and stuff, and, you know, maybe we'll take over this building at some point, which, with devolution unitary, I mean, we are going to see if we can get this community access maybe.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. At the present moment, we rent it, but with devolution and unitary authorities, they've changed us all the goalposts. And the clerk needs.
There has been a letter written by SLCC to the government to ask if a lot of the assets, because of devolution, whether a lot of the assets that district and county owns, whether they can become community assets and be given to the council. I'm just keeping an eye on all that at the moment. I'm sure I want to speak.
Sorry, just as portfolio of the estates. It was something that we said when we held the consultation meetings with town and parish councils. It was something that we invited for the conversation. So it's not just this building, it's public toilets and play space and things as well. So I'm not going to say no to car parks depending on what the overall package is for. But obviously it's up to the town council to make an approach on that. So as long as we're able to do it, we're happy to have the conversations.
I've had this building valuation done for this building, and that building, car park over there, I'm still waiting for it to come in.
Could we ask district to say own it to pay for this bifold door?
Always worth a try.
Thank you for the opportunity to respond.
If no one's got any particular objections, I propose that we proceed with that item of work, subject to formal information. Tracy? All in favour? Thank you. Item 14, new vexatious complaints policy. Want to explain?
I've put this in place because we have a vexatious person who, if I say something continually goes on and on and on, and he is a person in town who causes a lot of problems, and he's trying to cause a lot of problems, but I've said no, and I've given him an explanation, and he still keeps going on. So if he keeps doing that, then a lot of councils have vexatious complaints policies for the reason you just get bombarded. You can get bombarded with silly complaints that are irrelevant, really. So if you're told and giving you information and told, don't keep coming back for more information and more information. Just told.
Policy would be on our webpage.
Yes, it would be, yes.
So everyone will know where they stand before they start.
Yes. And we could refer them to the business.
Sorry, Chair, does this cover social media as well?
We're going to do a social media policy. That will be our next thing. We have got a small one, but we will be doing a social media policy.
Using social media for us posting stuff or people commenting on social media.
For staff and councillors, that'll be a full social media policy. I've got to find one, so I'll pick one from another council because that's what
We do have one at the
do.
moment, don't we?
Just needs.
It's not very specific though, it's very, very vague. And in this day and age, with digital day and age, you do need something specific to the platforms, to people.
Okay. So it's more than amending the policy rather than.
I think it needs to be a standalone policy because it is different. It sits at odds in the policy that it's in. It is its own separate thing. So, but we're going to work on that.
We'll work on that for May.
Can I just ask where we got it from? Presumably you haven't drafted this from scratch, taking it from somewhere.
Oh, this is from another council.
Yes, well.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
If I find that it's good, then I just print it and use it. Use ChatGPT.
I was just going to say, you know, I've got one or two social media policies that I use in my motorsport side, which we can adapt if need be, if that's any help.
Yeah. Well, I will go to big councils and find a social media
Yeah,
policy
sure.
that they use as well. So that's how I usually I page this.
Shadily so.
Good use of your time.
That's what all us clerks do. I see. Please send me your policies.
Right, so would someone like to propose we accept them as four? Yeah. All in favour? Thank you. Item 15 is regarding the welfare unit to be installed at the sanctuary workshop.
Unfortunately, I wasn't here the last meeting. I've had to bring this back again because it wasn't done correctly, or the report wasn't done, and I'll explain a lot more. The one that you agreed to have was just a blank one. It didn't have any of the toilet, the kitchen, or the things in it. The one with, and you've got pictures now, which comes with the insides in. So a used one, you can still get a used or you can get a new one, but it has everything in it. So the top one is just basic, supplied empty. The second one has the toilet, small drying room and kitchenette. I've also done this with some research on a chemical toilet. They're very expensive. They are very, very expensive. They're very expensive. They're like £300 empty. And they are very expensive to purchase. I think, and I don't think they're very, I mean, I've got a chemical toilet, and they're not the nicest of things at all, and I wouldn't want to use it permanently.
There's no sewers in the park you can connect to though, is there?
Is there any sewers? We could have to put some into the drainage. I don't know how to work that out. We'd have to get
The nearest sewers will be in Croatia Close probably. So you'd have to have a licence manual water to discharge into it. You could have a pump and pump into it.
But that's something that we'd have to do then.
It's a welfare unit.
But I don't think a chemical toilet is actually very nice.
I have to say, I'm glad you brought that up. I was under the impression from the last meeting that we were going for a second-hand with everything in it. That was my understanding of it.
Yes, we'll have all the information, so.
The report wasn't done very
Let's
well.
start again.
So sorry, that's why you brought it back again. And even though somebody in this room wanted a chemical toilet, I don't think it's very good for health.
So what's the recommendation?
Well, you can look at
Well, I mean, I guess what you're saying is that we should get one with the kitchen and drying room, but not with a toilet,
£300 a pop.
or with a conventional toilet. For the time being, we haven't got anywhere to plug it in, so that would have to be a second project to find a connection.
I think staff welfare is very, very important, and we have enough money and we should be looking after our staff.
Yeah, agreed.
The financial position is that we have a reserve of 77,000 for cemetery projects, which rose out of the sale of the bungalow at the cemetery. And it can only be spent on capital assets or capital works for the cemetery. So not only is there funds available for a welfare unit, there is also funds available for connecting the drain.
Because we have to have running water, they haven't got any running water at that
Well,
side. If there's
what I'm
chemicals
saying
still
is
already
that-
needs to be properly.
you
Well, we
know,
can
funding,
do that as well.
funding is not the issue here.
I mean, and to be fair, looking at the used and the new, the £2,000 difference, why buy something that could be a problem?
Chair, if we're going to provide as a town council a welfare unit, it should be a welfare unit. It should have running water, it should have a flushing toilet. It should have a drying room because it is
They
a
work full
welfare
time,
unit.
they are there.
I work for all increments, so.
They've got chemicals on their hands, they need to
Yeah,
wash
they
them.
need to be able to, from a health and safety point of view, it
Need
needs
to
to
have somewhere to
be.
bed.
Yeah, and, Tracy, sorry. Tracy said, you know, the difference between a used, refurbished and it's only £2,000. It's ridiculous not to go for a new one. Lifespan will be better on it.
So the proposal is then to acquire the new option there,
Quote B, yeah?
to install that, and then as a secondary project to work out how we can connect into the foul drainage. But in the meantime, that will at least provide messing and drying facility, which is something you haven't got now. And then within a few months, hopefully, we're going to get somewhere to discharge the water to.
Just as one point, we need to make sure that, I mean, look at the siting, that it is positioned such that we can get a water connection and sewage connection insensibly.
Yeah, we can get plumber in and sort that out, can't you?
I take it was only planning board.
Ooh, talking, yes, make that inquiry.
Yeah, so that's what it'll be the next day.
It's going to need to go on to a solid base as well.
Yes, it's already got concrete.
It's already got concrete.
There's sheds there at the moment.
It's basically the best place for a drainage system.
Planning permission.
Well, it'll have to be a pump drainage system anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much, because it'll just go around the building into, probably into Horatio Post or
Just been advised, just been advised by my colleague that perhaps Andy Walls need to check the site first.
Yeah, I'm going to do that anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we do. I think it does look okay.
I knew that.
We've got water there, but just we haven't got the sewer. So do we want to approve by this now, or wait until we've got approvals from these various?
We can approve buying that, but I won't buy it until I've got survey.
Subject to everything else.
Any proposals?
I'll second. Makes sense.
Two Julias. All in favour? Thank you. Item 16 is an update on getting us all DBS. As a general policy, we agreed some while ago that all councillors should have DBS certificates. We don't often deal with the public and vulnerable people, but it can happen, so it's a good thing for us to have that.
Have you got the form?
Yeah, apologies.
I do actually have a DBS certificate.
Is it in date?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. If you can let us have it, I think we've got
Oh,
one
no.
for you.
I've actually got to go and find it now. Yeah, I did.
Do you still need these forms filled in? You still need these forms filled in though, so if I can use.
Is it just a form to fill in, or for something else?
Oh, no,
So there's a form to fill in, that's step
You're
one.
waiting.
And then you go on your computer, there'll be an email, you do the email bit, fill in the details, then you need to bring the ID, and then, yes. So on the chart thing,
On the chart that says
on the chart thing, it tells you where you are and what you
Yeah.
need to do next. So ID is passport, driver's license, bill, standard.
But you do still need that even if we've got a DBS certificate?
So we're accepting it off if you're on the update service. So if you are registered on the update service, you put it on there, I can check it, and then that's valid. But if not, then we'll do you a separate one.
The update service automatically renews.
The update service renews it every year. There will be a small charge, but you can have it on expenses. But then it means that when we check it on the system, it will tell you that it's valid. Whereas if you get a standalone DBS, as soon as that's issued, that could be out of date.
Can I ask you about the email? Yeah, I think the only reason I forgot to do it is because it didn't come from the head of DBS and it just.
Yes, it's
came
from,
through
it's
without
from, no people.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what,
where
like,
it's
it's
from.
someone on the line, I must put it in as spam and.
If anybody needs me to resend it,
Please.
send me an email and I'll go on a mass resend.
Cheers.
Wendy, will Terry and I get our councillor emails this week?
Yes, I'll be sorted out. That's what I was going to say. I have asked. Have you set it up? If you can come in and see us, we'll just set it up for you.
I just haven't had a chance
And
this week.
Mr. Heinrich,
Yes.
have you sorted your council email address out
Not
yet?
yet. It's on the do list.
Excellent, yes.
I had an interesting morning. It
Yeah, you'll
took,
get council email.
it took 2 officers in the end to get me on,
We're not there.
in the end.
Because we, what we send them using the council email addresses to send all your agendas and paperwork out.
Right, okay. Item 17, we have a grant application from the North Horsham Community Network to support their volunteer.
Yeah, this came in just after we had our final, well, I took it to the finance meeting, didn't I, but we said that wasn't on the agenda, so it hasn't come here.
I moved that we approve that.
Yep.
All in favour?
270.
Can I just say as well, it was agreed some time back that anybody that wanted a grant, albeit went through, they were supposed to come and say that the.
Oh, were they?
Still, yeah.
Oh,
That must be about 2.5 years ago, something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, that's fine, that's.
Well, I'll make sure they come next
Yeah,
time.
it's something that's been done in my
Okay.
previous councils.
Previous councils I've been on,
Yeah.
it's always they
Yeah.
have to come and they have to put their case to
Yeah.
to the
Okay,
town.
no, that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Definitely.
Yeah, make sure that happens. That was something that was always done.
So they would go to the finance meeting.
So that would go to finance, and they come to the finance meeting.
No, it was come to full council.
Full council.
But grants all agreed at finance.
Before they weren't, they always used to come to full council, and that way then it was a full council decision, but they basically had to sell what they were asking for.
They sell what they're asking for,
Yeah.
and then finance approve it.
Yeah.
And then they get it straight off, without coming back to full council.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a point of information, this is the event that fills in the years when there is no big bash. It's involving all the community groups in town to provide services to the public.
So we put the big grants into, like the £1,000, we put that into our budget. Do they need to come or do they automatically get that? Because we have.
It was agreed that there would no longer be an automatic.
Well, they are put in the base
But
budget.
yeah,
I think that's
there's 3 or 4 groups in the base
We
budget.
put in the base
Yeah.
budget, so they wouldn't have to come in and ask.
So
because
it's
they-
all the ones
It's
that
the new,
are-
it's the odd ones that.
Yeah,
the
odd
odd
ones,
yes.
everybody coming in. Okay, and they would come to full council rather than finance.
And we was getting a lot of ones that would be in every single year.
We still do.
That just
We've
expected
got
us
to
to,
promote it a lot more.
yeah, and that was the reason
Yeah,
why we were changing it,
debate
because it was
groups.
expected rather than.
Yeah.
I think you still need to discuss
Sorry?
Still need to discuss it.
Yeah, but what Julie is suggesting is that they come to the full council first.
Right,
So the full council is, correct me if I'm wrong,
No, that's fine.
the full council will then make a recommendation, and then it's for the finance to agree.
Great, well, yeah, I think it must be the
Yes,
other
that's
way
what
around.
that's what I'm saying, that it should come
Obviously,
to
you
finance
finance
first, and then we then weed out anything that might be, and then we go to
Well, that would
full
be the way that
council,
logic.
and
So the people that come to
this is what we
finance, they would come
recommend.
to full
People will
council.
come to finance.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
none of it was being done before.
Yeah.
Right, okay, no, I mean,
And
I
there's
don't
always
know.
finance then
I don't
recommending
know the
full
problem
council.
with coming to finance.
That's one.
It was just basically, there were so many people that every single year were putting the same
Yeah,
thing,
they still do.
and it was going on for sort of like 5, 10,
Well,
20 years.
I think last year we did decline an application from this particular survey, it's not
Yeah.
a foregone conclusion.
No. There's two questions here. Do we feel the grant application is relevant? And do we have the finances to support it? The question is, which way you answer those two questions. Because you can say, yes, we've got the money, but then no, we don't like you.
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Yeah. We put them in
So we need to work out which way around.
There is a grant budget. Leaving aside the 4 or 5 organisations that are in the base budget, which was approved when we did the budget, there is also another budget for grants of £6,000 or £7,000, and people have to apply for that. Clearly, if and what's now being said is they should come to the Finance Committee to argue their case, to draw the application. We then make a recommendation to full council, that's fine. Clearly, if we get so many grant applications that we exceed the budget, then we either say we don't give any more, or otherwise we then have to get approval to increase the budget.
Absolutely. That was basically, I think, where it was coming to, we've got X amount of money.
Yeah, right.
It was like,
I'm just wondering, can we not short circuit, we've got the right base information about our financial position at full council, we could do just in one hit.
yeah.
So we can come and make their case and we can go, yes, we've got the budget, because we've got the information as well.
Right, so you're delegating it all to finance?
No,
No.
delegating to.
Full council.
Go right,
And it's like,
going the other way.
No, I don't mind.
no, just, I'm trying to not have two bites
So
of the
have to
cherry.
change the
It's-
clause then if that change that for me, then if that's what's happening.
Right, I mean,
I'm sure it's better than that 2 more years.
I think-
Yeah.
well, I mean, I don't think you need 2 separate meetings to decide.
That's what we said.
So they only come to finance to be approved.
Might I suggest that for future applications, we review our procedure and make it absolutely clear
Yeah.
to applicants what is expected, because clearly there is some confusion here. This one is something we know runs on a basis of every 2 years in between Big Bash. It involves the same organisations. It's not as if this is some group just being set up that wants funding. This is a well-known group in town. I probably ought to get an interest in my wife's on the committee that runs Orphan Good Neighbours. They're not applying for this one, so I think I'm all right on that. But we do need to stop arguing about how we do it and actually define it. So, I think increase your workload, Wendy. So we bring that forward.
We'll do that for
next
May.
municipal year.
Okay, so do we actually agree that?
Yeah.
We don't.
Who's that?
Who
I
proposed
propose 270, yeah.
Second.
it? Tracy, all in favour? Right, item 18 is the ongoing saga of the tennis courts. For the benefit of new councillors, the tennis courts in the park are free to use, open door, people can go there whenever they like. There's one group, one commercial group using it on Saturdays, whenever they are. And we also have an application from another group who would like to use it. But it's difficult to control anything while we can't manage who can get in and who can't. So Wendy has got a quote for a sort of computer control thing where you book a slot online and get a key fob or number which will give you access for that hour or something. That's £5,500, which is quite a lot to manage access.
No.
But on Saturday, we never knew, did we? We got informed that somebody is coaching on a Saturday. And I just think, well, they're doing it commercially. This chap who was asked, at least he was up front and came to me to ask. We could just have a sign on there to say, he could just have a sign and say, on Wednesday's coaching is done, and he is prepared to give us a donation because we can't charge. I don't know if we have to.
Yeah, I think it would be a shame for it to be locked up and people just can't wander in and do something. It's lovely to have something that people can just walk in and do it if they want to. If we start having to lock it, there's going to be people that go, oh, I can't be asked for that.
You know, yes, it's their
It's
loss,
not
but
a
then
LTA.
I don't think it's fair on the general public.
But
For two
equally,
or
it's
three
a,
people, you want to make a couple of bob out of it.
so I know
This is
that
about our town.
he went up a couple of times with his wife to play, and it's been occupied by this other group. But equally, it could be occupied by you or me. So it's all first come, first
If
served.
they want to put a sign, like you say, a sign to say between this hour and this hour, there will be training, then people will realise that it's not available between that time.
I think give us information then. I just find it hard as to set up coaching and who needs that for
There's
the
about
children.
Can we make contact with the Saturday person to
Well, we
come to a
tried,
similar-
haven't we? But it's not, I don't know who it is.
Sorry, I know I shouldn't really speak unless invited
I know you live next to us,
I live right next door and I hear all the grunts and everything, but I do know, I do know that young children actually playing the footballs on the tennis, you know, but if you would like me to go and see who's there Saturday mornings, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, well, as a member of our staff walks past there every Saturday, so she has actually come back and said there is somebody coaching there. And they haven't even come to me and that's what about it.
But it is very popular and it would be a shame for it to be locked.
Is it worth just checking with Alsham how they actually manage theirs, because it's probably the same person who's actually doing
I
it.
don't have to check with Alsham because I used to manage it.
Yeah.
So they have a plastic card and they're just membership only. So it's very, very unique to this membership only. They have a card and it's exclusive.
So is the answer then to sort of regularise the two commercial uses and then publish put a sign up saying that these 2 hours on a Wednesday, these 2 hours on a Saturday, it's sort of pre-booked, if you like.
Yeah, these courses are pre-booked and you will be kicked.
Yes.
And you put it on.
Okay, so and I've got all the information because I spent quite a bit of time on this, and in 2000 and something we were meant to be charging £6, they were meant to be locked and we were meant to be charged, and I just don't think it ever happened. The money what we got to do on was a sports, Sport England money, so we could charge. I just don't think, I've got all the documentation where we were competent, we never did, so.
I just like the idea of
25 years ago.
back out, look at it, that's reality.
Yeah, okay. So just to do some signs, yeah?
Yeah, and put some sort of contact with the Saturday person to
Try.
get a donation from them.
Yeah.
I think it's just a discussion on that one. Item 19 is discussions on a location for men's shed who are currently homeless. I know you had a discussion with them, but I think
He said he could go, like, he hasn't got any sheds or anything. He said that he could get a grant and get some sheds, but we just haven't got any land to put anything on.
Nowhere to put him.
Not having it, we can't have it at the cemetery, we could have it down. We've got nowhere there's electric, so to have it, we don't own anything. There's nowhere for them to go. For a department, for the town council.
a park or somewhere might have electricity, but will be toilets, so we need.
It's just not, I don't think it's.
It's not straightforward, it's just having a shed.
No, it's not, is it? And they make a lot of noise, don't they, when they're top of lace, and I just don't think, it's not very good. I just don't think there is anywhere. They could go down at Nelson Road, or Whitfield, but there's no electric down there, so.
And I think electric would be a necessity.
Yeah, so I think
Unless of course he's able to get some sort of generator.
Yeah, but it's noisy.
Does the district have any sites in town that are not able to put a container on or something?
I already met with Men's Shed to discuss that. So this is the 4th time they've needed to relocate that I've been aware of. And the last location they had was a district high school asset. So it's about creating a space where they can do what they want to do and need to do and is good for mental health and coming together, but doing it in the right location. And there is not a right location with the same issue. We have car parking or we have play areas, and I have spoken about this site here, but in order to make that safe and put the necessary electric in, it comes at a substantial cost. And I'm not sure that they have funding. I have suggested, like they did before, that they went to the press because they were able to secure locations that time, or that they started to canvass the industrial estate because that is an area that's more set up to deal with the noise and the flow of people. So that was a conversation I had, I wouldn't say a lot, at the end of last week. But I offered support in facilitating conversation.
So there's an awful lot of empty units on that site, and I'm sure someone would rather have someone in there.
So even if they could get a container on some land over there, it's going to be more geared up for them to be more freer in expressing themselves through the creativity they have. You can't really do that in a quiet residential area without people getting upset or without them feeling that they can't do what they want to do.
There's also parking there as well.
Parking, you're quite correct. Yeah, you're quite correct. And obviously welfare, you know, to make sure they've got a kitchen space, because it's not just about woodcraft, it's about supporting each other and creating a safe space for everybody, and they need to be able to do that.
Yeah, if they're disabled and obviously they need the moves, etc. So.
Okay. So item 20, items for next agenda. We've made the plan working party in there for a while, but
I think that will go on the agenda in May because we've got new councillors we might be able to.
you're going to look into consultant.
I've got one consultant. Yes. I just need to get another quote from another one.
The funding procession application process, what is
We've
that?
just had the application form, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had the application form literally today for the town council to put ourselves in. But this was for us to sponsor someone else to go in. So I haven't had time to work out the details fully yet, but I've now got the specifications on today's form, so fingers crossed.
We did agree last time or time before to sponsor another organisation.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably put our gator in, won't we? And then we're going to put our tractor in the tractor run, aren't we?
It's all for agreeance,
Well, you've got to.
It's all up for agreeance, really, isn't it?
You've got to. The Christmas one. Oh, that'd be ace.
I'm happy with that, it's just,
Okay, so
it's in agreeance, really, with the whole council.
That's a good idea.
Get some build lights on it. Disco Christmas tree.
next meeting, we've got DNA meeting in 2 weeks' time. Events and tourism.
The finance meeting's on the 20th of May.
Yeah, we've got finance on the 20th of May.
And the annual meeting on the 27th of May.
I can't do that one. I'm on holiday. Jasmine's going to do that one.
I'm sure she'll do a fine job.
No pressure.
Okay, so that's the end of the public part of the meeting. So,
Oh, see if I can get